Hey, God bless you guys. My name is Chris Amador. First, to begin with, I want to give Jesus Christ all the honor, the praise, and the glory for the salvation of my soul and the forgiveness of my many, many sins. It all went back to when I was about 13 years old. I started using drugs. I started making weird decisions. As I grew older, my parents, they got a divorce, man, and that's very traumatizing for kids, especially teenagers. It can be. And they got a divorce, and they went their separate ways. I went my separate way. Little did I know that that separate way that I had gone, it was going to lead me to destruction. I looked to the streets. I looked to older friends, older people to give me advice to, find love from them. Little did I know that I was just trying to fill in an empty void that was within me, something that was missing there, and needless to say, I tried it in everything. I tried to look for that. I tried to fill that empty void up with women, with money. I had money. I had, drugs. I tried to, fulfill that emptiness, with friends. I'd put my trust in people and then get hurt. I'd do so many drugs just to try to escape, the prison that I was living in. When I was about 17, I had two girls, two beautiful daughters. This drug addiction, this alcoholism, it wasn't letting me be that father that, of course, Jesus Christ created me to be. It wasn't letting me fulfill my duties as a parent. I was in and out of the picture, just back and forth, lying to my daughters. As I grew older, it just got worse. Eventually, I just started trying to do every drug on the face of the earth, just trying to look for a way out. And it got so severe. I got so anxious and so desperate that I started just living like a bum. I started looking for answers. It wasn't fun no more. The money wasn't cutting it. The nice rides. The houses, all the women. All in and out of relationships, damaging people. I damaged many relationships, and it wasn't cutting it no more. I couldn't fulfill that empty void that I was missing. That maybe it was unforgiveness, or maybe it was anger, toward my parents, or I don't know. But as I got older, I was about 20, 25, 26 years old, 27 maybe. I reached a point in my life when I couldn't look to the sides no more. Wasn't nobody there, the drug dealers didn't want me around. Nobody wanted me around. My friends had turned their backs on me. My family was at the point, where it's like, hey, you got to get out of here. You got to move around. We can't deal with you no more. I was about 27 years old when, I was sitting there one day at a house and just lost of hope. I didn't have no hope. I didn't know what tomorrow was gonna bring. I didn't know if I was gonna die that night. And I remember just sitting there and I was getting high, some people that I was with, and a friend of mine walks through the door, and she seen the condition I was in, and her exact words was, "Oh no, you're not going out like this. I can't see you like this." Obviously, she had seen something, a big change in my life to where she knew, what she knew of. And it led her to leading me to Christ. Little did she know. And anyway, she told me about this place called Outcry in the Barrio in Dallas, Texas. She told me that it was a free home, free to anybody, who needed help, who couldn't, provide for their own no more. And so that was pretty much me. I fit all the qualifications. So I called this place up, and man answered, and I was like, hey, I need some help. I don't know where to start. I hit rock bottom, trying to search, trying to do things my way. I spent about 15 years trying to do things my way, trying to, find my way through this on my own. And so I explained to the man a little bit what I did and where I was at and stuff. And they told me, just come on in. If I could find a ride, just come on in. And so long story short, I showed up at the doors of Outcry in the Barrio. There, when I first got there, of course, I was scared. It was 3 hours away from my girls, from my family. And I was scared, I was scared. I was nervous. I was mad at the same time. Like, why me? I'd ask myself like, man, why does this have to happen to me? And so when I showed up to the home, they the brothers there, the older brothers, they received me with open arms, man. And what was the beautiful thing is that they showed me the love of Christ, and I had never ever imagined humans could love on just strangers the way they did, and so it began to start tugging at me, the power of Jesus Christ, it began to start tugging at me, when I got there, of course I was coming down off the drugs, I was still high, I was coming down, all that toxicness was, getting out of my system. But as the days went by, and they showed me love, like consistently, they didn't care if I stunk, they didn't care, if I came off the streets, they didn't care, they still loved on me. They witnessed to me, they testified to me, they told the sinner's prayer to me, they led me to Christ. I didn't know when I said that sinner's prayer what I was getting myself into, at that moment, the power of Jesus Christ, And so they led me to Christ, and I would see them, with other people that would come in through the doors. They would show them that same love. And what was so powerful to me and what broke me down was when we'd go to praise and worship, I would see these guys, tatted up, scars on their face, scars on their bodies, grown men, just gang members, active and inactive, drug users. I would see these grown men jumping up and down for joy. I would see them like breaking down on the ground, man, going to their knees. And I remember me sitting at the back of the sanctuary, just kind of just observing, because that's what you do. You observe whenever something new is in front of you, something you're not used to. You've been doing it this way for so many, years. You've been in this state of depravity for so many years. And then here comes some healing, some cleansing. And at first, it kind of like makes you kind of back, like, whoa, back, what's happening? And so that was me at that point. I would sit in the back of the sanctuary, and I would see these guys just falling, to the ground, crying, and joy, so much joy in the atmosphere. And I started beginning, one day I was sitting there and I'm thinking, man, I want that peace. I want that joy that they're experiencing, like, what is it? You start getting curious. I started getting curious, and, I started, trying to wonder, like, where'd they get this from? Where'd that come from? Like, he went from a hardcore, thug, gangster in prison and in and out, and to this crying like a baby, just like crying, just full of so much joy and relief, and I started wanting that. I started, chasing after that, but I didn't know how to get there yet. And it wasn't until an older brother of mine, he led me to Christ, and he started witnessing to me, and he said, brother, if you want that peace, you want that joy, Jesus Christ is the one who gives it to you. Jesus Christ, man, you got a bunch of luggage sitting on your shoulders. You got a bunch of weight on you that you've been tugging around. And I'm like, dude, this guy's right, And so I'm like, well, how do I get it off me? And that's when they started teaching me how to pray. And he said, well, let's go to the altar, and we'll pray. He said, when you go to the altar, he said, you give all that to God. You give it all to God. He said, and watch your life start to begin to be transformed. He said, watch you, feel that weight lifting off your shoulders. And so, as we were talking, it took me a couple of days. Finally, I went up to the first of the altar. They did an altar call right there in the sanctuary. And I was one of the few, that went up there. And, just the amazing feeling that I felt, when I finally, as I was walking up, I began to cry, I began to feel that sensation, that joy, like something was fixing to happen. Like I felt like I needed to have been there a long time ago. It took me back to when, my 13 years old, when I first picked up that first, piece of drug. It took me back, and as I started walking up to the altar, I remember, it was almost like just different amounts of weight was just lifted off my shoulders. And when I got to the front, I just dropped to my knees and I said, Lord, here I am. I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know why I'm here, Father, but all I know is that I can't take this no more. And when I went to my knees, I just felt this sense of peace. I felt that I finally, for the first time in my whole entire life, I felt this emptiness fill up with so much joy and victory, and forgiveness and peace, that I've been looking for. And I felt that void, that empty hole, just fill right up. And I remember just crying uncontrollably. And, you hear people talk about their testimonies. You hear how they cried for days and days. I cried for 3 days. I cried nonstop. I couldn't hold back my tears. I'd just be crying and crying. And, the homeboys there, they were used to that type of stuff, but I would remember me thinking like, what's going on? Why am I crying so much? And, the guys would tell me, man, it's just all that baggage that you had, unloading off of you. And since then, I got to know Jesus Christ. I started building a relationship with him. I'm not going to say that my life has been easy. It's been a long journey, but it's been a well worth journey. He's began to restore everything he promised me. He began to restore my family. He began to, restore my kids and just restore my life in full. Now I'm doing amazing things that I never would have imagined that I'd be doing. They're not big things, but I know they count for the Lord. And so, I just want to give Jesus Christ all the honor, the praise, and the glory, because I wouldn't be sitting here if it wasn't for him. Him having mercy and grace, on my soul. So God bless you guys, and thank you. The bottom line is this, you guys. John 14:6 says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And the truth will set you free. Bottom line is this: if you guys have been, searching for answers and you've been going around in circles, maybe you've tried rehabs, maybe you've tried doctors, maybe you've tried psychiatrists, psychologists, whatever. Jesus told us, he gave us the answer, he gave us the keys. I am the way and the truth and the life. And guys, the truth will set you free. So right now, my encouragement words to you guys is, if you guys are sick and tired of being tired and you've tried everything in your life to try to make this thing work, try Jesus Christ. He might actually do the job for you if you believe.